Nollywood actor, Yomi Fabiyi, recently shared his thoughts on social media on failed marriages. According to him, marriage isn't a bed of roses, and it has thorns. He also said that some of us aren't destined for this bed of roses called marriage. What are your thoughts? When he mentioned this issue of marriage not being a bed of roses, and we initially we thought he was talking from the angle of celebrities, but not necessarily. It's actually across board. What are your thoughts? Who wants to go first?
A lot of us
I think we all know that marriage is not a bed of roses. I think the major issue is that people go into marriage thinking that it's going to be a bed of roses. It's not. And by the time you're conscious of that, it would help you when you get married. Our marriage counseling process, and not even everybody goes through that, does not prepare us adequately for the realities of what will happen in marriage. So marriage are not doomed for failure, according to Yomi Fabiyi. It's just colored by his own failures. And so you shouldn't project that into other people. I've met young ladies right now that are scared of getting married, literally scared, because all they hear about is, it is tough, you have to sacrifice, you don't have your life, and it's all negative. It isn't all negative.
That's where I have a problem, because it almost preempts you. You know, they're expecting the worst. Yeah. So you don't give your best thinking, because you have all this negativity around marriage. And it really bothers me when young people have that issue.
I think what Yomi Fabiyi is trying to say is that, you know, some marriages, no matter how hard you work at it,
are destined to fail.
You know, no matter how you try, you wouldn't happen.
Foundation.
For instance, you're in a marriage, you were hopeful, you had the right mindset, everything, and you're in a domestic violence situation. The solution is that you have to have that name, divorcee or divorce, you know, to be alive. And because you think it is wrong, you have the notion of marriage must work, it just must become.
But there's a part of our Bible that always tells us that there's nothing God can never give you anything you cannot handle. So when women see themselves in that position, they feel like I have the strength to handle the situation.
You need to be sure that God is the one that gave you the situation. Hello? You need to be sure that God gave you the situation. It is when he gave you a situation, then you are sure he would help you handle it. Right. When your marriage is done within your own capacity as an individual, then it would fall to the flares and issues.
Whether or not it's even destined, sometimes, like we've agreed, some of our counselors have come here to say that you have to step out of the situation for it to work. So whether or not you step out as a divorcee and then maybe you have the opportunity to go back to that marriage and make it work, you step out first. The situation that, you know, people are scared of, and I think he must have had that situation, battling to try to save that marriage, it just must work. That must, you have to work in the right situation, the right environment. Everything has to, you are putting in your best, the other party is not putting in enough. Yes. Will it work?
So it takes two to tango, and which is why marriage is difficult. It's not because it's a hard institution that you cannot survive. So we must be realistic when we say it is difficult. It is only difficult because what you are working on, your partner also must be working on it. Larry Olushola mentioned the last time he was here that because more women are empowered these days, the slightest of irritation, you say, I can't take it. As opposed to the days of our mothers when they knew they had nowhere else to go. As difficult as their marriages were in polygamy and all of that, and juju and being called a witch if your husband died early, they stayed put wherever they were married. Now, Yomi is saying that some marriages are destined to fail. I disagree. God hates divorce is what the Bible says. So there will be difficult times in marriages. I just do not believe in that it is destined to fail. You must go into the right marriage for it to work for you.
But sometimes you do everything right, okay?
No, see,
everything, just like
Mario, may I give you a typical example that I thought about? So, the man you want to marry as a woman, his idea of marriage is totally different from your idea of marriage. So you go into marriage with the pre-notion that when I am sweeping, he will be dancing with the baby. And you guys never talk about that because you leave the part until marriage, and then you get into marriage and realize that that's not who he is.
You are meant to talk about it.
You even talk about it before, and it seems as if he's the perfect guy. He says, "Oh, I'll help you."
You get into
you now enter, and he now realizes he's hanging out with his friends, and I'm thinking, you are carrying baby. Really, you know, and gradually he's thinking.
So this situation that
you never really know this
Mario, this situation that you've mentioned, it happens to women also. Men have expectations of us, and then you get into marriage and realize that this is not the woman you met. But once the lines of communication are open and both of you are committed to that marriage, you do everything to make it work.
I hope that you people know that a lot of people face so many things that, you know, this line of communication you just mentioned might never open for some women. I have a case I handled recently. That lady was in a domestic violence situation and she called me, hoping that, I could get help quickly for her. This matter ended up in the police station. Sometimes the solution is to get out of that marriage. God hates divorce, but he puts the option of divorce open.
Right.
It's because he knows that some situations, that will be the solution.
Right.
Nima, I know the situation that you're talking about. And you and I know how that lady got into that marriage. She shouldn't have gone into it.
No, that wasn't the situation. That's a different one I called.
So
called
here's my take. I was talking to someone about natural hair, and she was like, I'm going to relax my hair. I'm going to lock my hair. It's so difficult. And I say, it is difficult. If you want to enjoy the beauty of life, you will go through difficulty. If you want gold, you will need to refine it, and the process is tedious. If you want to be admired, it will be difficult. Don't expect that something will just land on your lap. Work is meant, as in, human beings are created to work, and everything good requires you work on it. So when you go into marriage, don't think that it's just going to be, I'll wake up and it's going to just bring food for me, and then I'll just get pregnant and I'll just give birth, boom, and I'm just okay. Like, everything will just flow. There'll be challenges. Your ability to survive the challenges would strengthen your person. So Yomi Fabiyi has faced his own, and like we said yesterday, you might have gone through that breakup and divorce and you've done your best and it didn't work. Does not mean that you cannot meet another one that will be world's best husband or world's best wife.
Rosemary, are you there? Rosemary? I think I lost that call.
No, I think that Yomi Fabiyi is not saying that you cannot move on. That's not what he's saying. What he's trying to explain away is the fact that some people see divorce as a strange thing.
Right.
As a very, very demonizing. They demonize it so much that you, in a very bad situation of marriage, don't want to get out.
Yeah.
You don't even want to be found.
And that cripples your ability to even move on, because you have that mentality like, oh, God hates divorce, God hates it. And you're not staying in the domestic violence. If you had gone with the Fabiyi notion that maybe this was never meant to be in the first place.
The option of divorce open as a solution.
As a single
divorce
person,
is a solution.
When you know that God hates divorce and that you are going to be married to this person for the rest of your life, you will look well at the one person you want to marry.
That's what you think.
Sometimes
you have been looking well.
The less you
see. Once you enter this marriage, you see things. You still see things.
I agree with you.
Sometimes the more you look, the less you see.
I agree. Listen.
You won't see anything.
If the person that you're getting married to has the same philosophies surrounding marriage like you do, you have a common ground in that. Hold on. If the communication before you guys married is that you can talk about anything and everything, and then you now come, look, I'm not saying that there will not be difficulties. That's not what I'm saying.
Go
for counseling before the marriage.
Okay.
Counseling continues after the marriage.
Right.
So once you face difficulties, we have life coaches.
That's a man who is willing to be counseled. Sit down with a life coach.
How many men will sit down
for
them to see a counselor? It took somebody an attempt to jump down and kill himself before he saw a counselor. Do you think that the spouse wasn't trying as much as possible at the time to get him to a counselor?
So there are two categories of people. There are the ones where you've heard so much about failure in marriage, divorce, everything is bad, and you're worried about getting married. And there's someone that's already in marriage and she feels like she's stuck in marriage. Everybody goes through that place of feeling like you're stuck. But the idea is this must work. So what can we do to make it work? Like literally, sometimes I just sit back and I'm like, I know that we had an agreement. You were in love with me, I'm in love with you. We must make this work.
That's all.
What do I need to do?
That's all.
What do you need to do? So with that as the goal.
Pause. Fantastic. That's a good foundation. Yeah. There are some foundations where she got pregnant.
Yes.
And then they got married.
So that's another category.
So in that kind of situation,
is faulty. What can the righteous do?
It's a bit faulty. It's a bit faulty. And that's...
Well, we are stuck in the marriage.
No, but
that option must be open for you.
That's why I don't believe in you must marry based on pregnancy, because you might be forced into what you did not bargain for.
Your husband may still be your future.
Yes, before you get married, they are single, and I've done makeup for single mothers that still found love and are doing well. So don't be rushed into under societal pressure that I must get married in my 20s.
Are we saying, we have to round up, are we saying that if the foundation of a marriage is right, if everything plays out perfectly well for you to get married, that means that kind of marriage you must not divorce. You must be there forever. That one is destined to work.
Do all you need to do to make it work.
When you're exhausted.
Every situation.
When you're exhausted.
Listen.
You don't exhaust.
You never exhaust. For the rest of it, marriage is an institution. You don't graduate from it until you die.
Unfortunately, let's take
May I take tweets into real long? Swing says the problem is having celebrities define what marriage should look like.
Thank you.
Joy says marriages are only destined to fail if they are built on the wrong foundation, such as turning a blind eye to the wrong signs are still going into that marriage.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, our celebrity guest takes the couch. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Hello. Hello.
Great.
How long have you been there?
I just came down now. I heard voices and I thought, who are those?
Oh, friends of mine. We're just coming from a bachelor's party, and
Okay.
they came to drop me off. Why didn't you tell me you were coming?
I wanted to surprise you.
Oh boy, you did surprise me. The next time, huh? You tell me when you're coming. I hate surprises.
Any skeletons in your cupboard?
Oh,
What's the problem?
You know what our guest is.
Fred Amata is a Nollywood actor, director, and a movie producer who has played a great role in the Nigerian movie industry. He's one of our most recognized screen figures in Africa, and he has won so many awards. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
So we've been gisting with you since you got in here. Yeah. First, I like what you're wearing.
Oh, okay. Opportunity to give
Credit
to my designer. Vance Kerry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've heard about him. He's good.
He's good. Nice young man too.
Okay,
Very
that's good.
creative.
So you heard our gist before we came about marriages and everything. What are your general thoughts on this? Because I know you're telling us something about
First
going to
of
the
all,
doctor.
I'm afraid to even comment on.
Don't be afraid. There's only 4 women. Don't worry.
One is enough. I argue that women design what we are experiencing in the world today. I argue that the first person who got knowledge in the world, was a woman. Right. And I also jokingly say that she got this knowledge at, let's say, about 11 o'clock in the morning, and Adam came up about maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, which is about 8 hours or something, which is 1/4 of a day. I remember a day in the eyes of God is like 1,000 years.
So they are much more
So
wiser.
women had knowledge for about 2,500 years before men.
Your own theory.
Well, now, okay, come on, make I even give this man, make it chop, sir. Come on, chop, and come on, understand. So women have always understood.
What are your thoughts?
Women are deeper, they understand more. Then about marriage, all I can say is, let me use an allegory. Let's say you go to the hospital and you have a headache. They'll give you a Panadol or something for your headache. But your headache is not the problem. Your headache is the symptom of the problem. I think a lot of the times we try to argue and try to understand marriage, we are usually looking at the symptoms. So, but what exactly is the cause? Now, there is the women who should tell us, because they had knowledge long before.
Let me ask, what are your thoughts? Why do you think marriages mess up? I know you're talking about, yes, we see the symptoms, but what exactly, because we're talking about issue of foundation. How do you even go into with right thinking, right mindset, into that union that you're not supposed to divorce? What exactly causes this breakup that people usually have?
I think something that aligns with what she said is the closest I can come to, which is that the expectations with which people go into marriage is a huge cause of the challenges that they subsequently face in marriage, no matter where. And because they're two different individuals who have been taught two different values by society. Fela tried to say, who be government teacher? Culture and tradition. So over the years, we have been taught the things that we have been taught, the things that culture and tradition and history has taught us over the years, has not prepared us adequately to face the new challenges that we're experiencing in marriage today, and that is why in Nigeria is escalating.
Yeah.
Because we keep saying our parents were in a different time.
They had their own issues.
So, but all the, and then, so a lot of what we have learned and we are going into marriage with are the things that culture and tradition taught our parents, which are no longer working because culture is dynamic and it has changed. And so there are new levels of understanding that are required that are not in the cultural and traditional fabric of the people who are going into marriage, whether male or female.
Before we go into your career, based on your experience, what advice would you give to a couple who are going into marriage today?
One thing.
Okay.
Tolerance.
Regardless of what they meet in the marriage.
Tolerance. Once you can tolerate it, then you can even begin to address it. But a lot of times we are so wired up that even that simple, why would he do that? Why can't she do that? Can my wife do this kind of thing? So by the time you first of all tolerate it and try to now
address the issue,
maybe you can begin to approach some kind of understanding, which is, somebody said something about it here. Don't put me for trouble.
Quick one before we move off marriage, because we want to borrow from your years of experience. Nima proposes that divorce is an option. And we know you've gone through that road before. With the knowledge you have now, would you still see divorce as an option?
Okay, this is where I now go to the Bible. Bible don't allow divorce. It even says that even if you are divorced, a man and woman, you are divorced, and another person comes and marries you, you are committing adultery. Didn't I say more?
No, you have finished the story.
So at this point in time, I use the Bible to answer you.
No, you never answered the question.
I don't answer the question.
No, but he has answered it, meaning that he won't go through divorce if he had a first choice.
Oh, sorry, that's
please don't interpret for me and put words in my mouth. Yes. No, don't put words in my mouth.
You would have never divorced.
What I said is that the Bible says that even if you divorce and someone you go and marry another person, it is adultery. That's all I said now. Which one are you saying? I say.
Yeah, it means you've committed adultery.
Is it not human? It's not human. Is it not humans that commit adultery?
That you talked about, because sometimes when they talk tolerance in marriage, some people find certain things, like Tokpa used to say, there are breaking points at certain things like cheating and all that in marriages. If a party knows that the other person cannot condone,
cheating.
For instance,
as
example,
in marriage,
it's a breaking point.
It's a breaking point.
For
even
your
the Bible says it now, that is one of the reasons
for divorce.
Is it?
That means the Bible is also saying
is it in modern day practice?
No, sir.
Is it?
No, sir.
Is it in modern day life experience? How many young women today or young men today get married in the same old traditions as virgins?
So are you saying it's okay to cheat?
No. You have cheated already.
Because you did not.
You have cheated already.
As a virgin.
You have cheated already. You said, no, I had one. Wait. Some people say, no, I didn't cheat. I only one boyfriend. My last boyfriend was 5 years ago. This one is 10 years ago.
Even God himself.
God, they count the years.
No, God himself.
So all together is one.
Once you confess your sins, he washes everything away. So that means that if you're coming into marriage, you are now sanctified. You can get married. You know the fact that you are not a virgin does not matter anymore the moment you've committed to this man. So what's the issue?
You see,
those
are the values that culture and traditions have taught us.
So,
but are they really? Think of it. You say, I know. Before you marry, you can be. That's what you're saying. You can be sleeping anywhere before you marry. Then once you marry, stop. That's what it implies. Once you marry, just ask for forgiveness and stop, so that
going forward,
all things are wiped away.
Let me take it away from
it's not the same. It's not the same.
The confines of marriage, there are certain limits that it gives you. You must not cross those limits.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want before you marry, but once you are married,
that's the point.
The new barriers have been set.
So you see, we are talking about symptoms and causes. You have been doing if.
I can't make the connection. I'm sorry. I'm having difficulty.
I'm sorry if you can't. I'm sorry if you can't. I'm saying you have one life. And you live your life for 70 years.
Yes.
And you say, no, I had only 3 boyfriends. Plus your husband plus your 3 boyfriends
Right.
or your
They were
husband.
inside your life.
How does that?
So what does
that mean in the marriage?
First law,
What does that mean in the marriage?
It means that
Yes.
the traditions and values that brought us to that marriage,
Right.
there's something wrong.
There's
in it.
nothing wrong in that, Oga, for that
According
matter.
to you.
I don't understand why I say. Wait, help me understand. Is he saying that?
He's saying that
once you've
you
had
cannot
X amount of
apply
boyfriends,
the rules
right?
of
Cheating. as
of
the
cheating
breaking point.
in marriage when you have already had relationships before marriage. We might disagree on that point because for me, I'll think that when we're already going to marriage, we're already bound by that contract and you should let go of the former one.
That's
but he's saying that once you've done something before marriage,
Find it-
if I go marry
You
a teenager
don't
now,
find it
That- so
But you remember that Jesus Christ mentioned that if you met a woman and you found that she wasn't a virgin, that's grounds for divorce. That's where he started from. So he's saying that fornication is enough grounds anyways for divorce.
for all the challenges that you are going to face.
okay, let's go on a commercial
something
break.
else.
When we come
Then
back,
you go
Talk
on.
will continue this conversation. Stay with us to be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Sorry.
Thanks for staying with us. So Tokwe has a question.
I wanted to ask you about politics. So let's take away from marriage and talk about politics. What's your opinion about Jonathan's administration and this new one? Where did you stand? And where are you right now? What's your message for Nigeria concerning politics?
I'm a Jonathanist.
We know.
How would you know?
Oh, we know.
I felt Jonathan brought a difference into power. He's coming from a different perspective from all the other rulers. He's an academician. Rulers, all the other rulers, all our other, apart from maybe the elders, he's an academician, and he's also a doctor. So I thought he understood that he needed to change the status quo, and to a lot of extent, I think he did. I look at different sectors of the economy, and I thought, oh, excellent in agriculture. Oh, excellent in power. He had done quite a lot, setting up the fabric, the infrastructure, which well, the new administration came and took advantage of also. So in education, even though he had gone various ways and he had made an impact, in my sector, he was, but that's the truth.
We know.
He took it.
But do you agree that he was a weak president, as a lot of
I
people said?
disagree totally.
Wasn't a weak.
I
What about the
disagree
corruption
totally.
that lots of
allegations?
money
The
flew away from his
corruption
administration.
allegations, everybody keeps saying Jonathan himself was not corrupt, but he allowed corruption around him.
Right.
Everybody says that.
Do you agree with that statement?
Which also is even worse now that people around.
We've not come to now.
No,
We're talking about then.
I'm making comparisons
Comparisons.
because I want to make a point. Okay. It's even worse now because there is, like they say, the biggest political party is the government party, or how do they call it? So, and that, you know, there's, apart from soldier go, soldier come, barracks remain.
Yeah.
Politician come, politician go, permanent secretary remain.
Very true.
Yeah.
You see,
That's
so
the system.
the system also
Hasn't changed.
has not changed. So the system will continue
Very true.
to try to make sure that those pecs and balances that they have experienced, that they have enjoyed over
So if
the
the
years
president thinks
continue.
he's cutting corruption in one angle, the fact that these guys are still there is not going to work.
So I thought Jonathan brought a better way towards fighting corruption, especially when he used, what is it, it was unifying it. And like, for instance, ghost workers. He put on a machinery that made sure that they could no longer be ghost workers.
But we still found ghost workers
Lots
after
of
he
about-
left.
But they put a machinery in place. There was nothing before. There's something now. That thing has to improve. So let's not and that is the importance of fighting corruption. Now, corruption also thrives in an environment where you can steal.
A lot of people seem to have stolen.
So, another way to fight it is to make sure that all those areas where you can steal are blocked, which will be the first thing before you start to go after
those that have stolen.
And then, which are a lot of things that.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Divine.
Divine, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to contribute to the topic on ground.
Yes.
Yes, I want to say that marriage is meant to be enjoyed, but not to be endured.
Okay.
And in other way around, I'm not in support of divorce. It's absolutely out of it. But there are situations that one will have to divorce.
Okay.
Because I've seen some cases where a man will beat up a woman, even to death, or a woman trying to kill the husband. So in situations like that, you walk away.
Right.
Okay.
But the issue again is that the fundamental right is that we mix the foundation. The foundation is some of the marriage are not built in a proper way.
Right. Thank you very much, Divine. Very good point.
Okay, so Fred, you're a trained director and you won awards as a director before you even started acting. So it pains you usually when people say that he's a renowned fine boy actor and all of that. Your family background, your mother was an actress, your father was a thespian, or your siblings, even your nephew.
3 generations.
You know, into theater. And you eventually, you know, went into becoming the chairperson.
President of the Directors Guild
of the Directors Guild of Nigeria. So what's the future for Nollywood today?
I keep saying that Nollywood is in evolution, or the creative sector is in evolution, and that this evolution is taking us to a place where we become like the #1 filmmaking destination in the world, and I'm very resolute when I say that, and it is basically based on the resilience of the Nigerian spirit, the fact that this is a sector, that art is innate in the average Nigerian. So it's innate, and it also gives you value, it gives you a sense of value. So these are the kind of things that Nigerians crave. And we started from nothing. Now we are within the world environment of cinema. We can go further.
Okay. Sweet.
I wanted to quickly ask that, you know, as a veteran, what's your view on this new trend of veterans not having any plans and they fall sick and they have to come out and start to, you know, to ask for funds for begging, like Sadiq Daba recently and Baba Salah yesterday in the papers. How do you feel when you see? What's the Guild even doing? How do you feel when you see?
Okay, the Guild has put a unified insurance scheme together. We are calling it Nolly Insured, which is a unified scheme for health insurance, life, death insurance, afterlife and life, and pension. Which means that in the next few years going forward, everybody would have been able to have quality access to healthcare, for instance. Now, Nolly Insured has unified the guilds together. As we speak, there are over 10 guilds that have signed on, and their healthcare is being provided by one health provider, a HMO.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and
all right, that's fantastic. We're
happy
happy
forward to see this anymore.
Hopefully in the future.
Providing
Fantastic.
insurance.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming.
We'd like to have you again.
Thank you for being here.
I would love to run away again.
Have a fabulous day. Thank you once again for joining us. Have a fabulous weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.